Hey everybody, since our last update for this YouTube channel and the course, two versions of Gutenberg have come out, 2.7 and 2.8. So in this video, we're going to talk about some of the finer points of the latest version of Gutenberg, the plugin, which came out on May the 4th, so just last week. You can see from the release notes, which will be linked in the description below, that there are just a few things being added here, or a few major changes being added. The rest is kind of a shine and polish update, which makes me think that we're getting pretty close to an official release of the Gutenberg plugin, or at least one that the dev team feels is ready for prime time. The big change that I want to note here, or the big add, is the server-side render component. Now, this is something that will affect the front end as more and more developers get their hands on it, but it's not something that we can directly control on the front end as a user. So what this does is it allows Gutenberg blocks to talk to the server to do things dynamically. So for example, if you have a block where you want editors to be able to do one thing and you want authors to be able to do something different, you can check the user's role and then modify the block on the server end and then send it back to the front end or for Gutenberg. The example that they use here is the archives block, which allows you to select the month and then display things a bit more dynamically. So that is a big code change. And then the rest of the stuff we're going to do will focus more on actually using Gutenberg. But this is something that has big ramifications for users. So I just wanted to point that out. Now, if we go to a brand new post with the Gutenberg editor, let's add a title here first. Gutenberg 2.8. So the first thing I'll point out is a couple of new blocks that we have. The first is a pagination block. So we can add a page break here. And essentially what this will do is allow us to set breakpoints on a post. So if we want to, for some reason, break a post into multiple pages, we can do that with the new page break block. So what we'll do here is we can add a new paragraph block right here. This is page 1, and then add this is page 2. And now we have a paginated post, right? So if we click preview on this, this is page 1, and then we click, and this is page 2. So if you want to be able to do things like create a multi-page story, or you have posts that have like a top 10 list where each item is its own page for whatever reason, you now have the ability to do that in Gutenberg. I suspect this is something that a lot of editors have asked for. Making our way back to the editor, we also have a spacer block. So if we add a new block here, this is just going to add empty space within the editor. So if we want to add something for a dramatic pause, or we need to fill in some other area just with blank space, we now have the ability to do that. We can also drag the height here, which is pretty cool. So, maybe if you wrote a review for Avengers Infinity War, and you want to do a little bit of a review, and then you want to have some spoilers, you can add a spacer here and continue the spoilers below, or you can create a new page that has just the spoilers. So that is a good demonstration of both of these blocks. Um, as I mentioned, that there's also been a lot of polish for 2.7 and 2.8. So if we add columns here, you'll notice that the columns are a little bit more refined and contained. If we click the options for the columns, oops, and we add, let's do one more. 3 is always good to add. You'll see we have a little bit more control. The interface is a little bit cleaner. and things don't run into each other as much. That is a big fix. For the columns, I suspect the columns will be a very popular block. So I'm glad to see that the Gutenberg team is working on this and making the experience as good as possible. There are also some better visual cues. So if we hover over here, we have the ability to drag and drop blocks. We can actually drag blocks out of columns too, which is pretty cool. I wish I had content in that one when I dragged it. Just using the editor in general is getting a lot better. Um, like I said, we also have the ability to drag these blocks around so we don't have to wait for, or we don't have to use the arrows now if we have a lot of blocks on the page, which is nice. Another nice feature to point out is that as of 2.7, you can edit the permalink if you click on the title now, which was something that you could only do in the classic editor up until that point. And speaking of the classic editor, that also got a bit of a polish. The classic editor block, that is, to look more like the current WordPress editor, or what will be known as the classic editor in 5.0. So that's everything I've got for Gutenberg 2.7 and 2.8. One more note before we go is it looks like the Gutenberg NAG, which will tell the greater WordPress community how to try Gutenberg, is coming in 4.9.7. There are some rules around how to display that, and that could change before the uh, 4.9.7 update. I'll probably do a separate video about that for those of you who have clients who you definitely don't want trying Gutenberg just yet. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching that video. If you liked it, go ahead and click the thumbs up button down below. Subscribe to Creator Courses for more great content. And if you want to learn how to use Gutenberg, head over to creatorcourses.com and check out my introduction to Gutenberg course. It's linked somewhere in this box as well. And you can get a discount. The discount code is in the description below, and it's a pretty great deal. So I strongly recommend you check it out now. Thanks so much to Bluehost for sponsoring the Introduction to Gutenberg course and this video. You can also check them out in a description below. So thanks again so much for watching, and until next time, get out there and build something.